Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. Well, is it worth putting an SSD drive in an old Mac or an old PC computer? Well, let me put it to you this way. As long as your Mac that you currently have is still able to surf the internet securely, which means right now as of December 2022, High Sierra is still updated enough because its last final updates for security etc. were done in 2020, and you are either running the more current version of Safari that will be supported by High Sierra, or you are running the most up-to-date version of Google Chrome, which this late 2009 iMac does. Provided you have all that stuff together, yeah, definitely go SSD, okay? When it comes to a PC, you should be running Windows 10, okay, on your laptop or desktop, and definitely worth going SSD. As far as I'm concerned, hard drives are a thing of the past. They were great in the day, they were built really well in the day. Nowadays they're not built so well. So the longevity or lifespan of a HDD that you even buy brand new nowadays, regardless of the brand, is still not as good as it used to be. So they have a higher tendency to fail sooner. I've had a few experiences in the last while. Anyways, so SSD all the way it is. So I've upgraded this iMac into an SSD. Now, the other thing you need to be concerned with is the version of the serial ATA bus or SATA bus that you have. Okay. Now, I don't know for sure if SATA 3 can go backwards to SATA 1, but I do know that SATA 3 will go backwards to SATA 2 without any hassle, right? However, that being said, this particular Mac has SATA 2, and I put in a 3D NAND Western Digital SSD drive that is SATA 3, which does go backwards, no problem, to SATA 2. And like I said, the bus on this is SATA 2, which is good for up to 300 megabits per second on SATA 2 bus lines. Much higher on SATA 3, obviously. So this drive is rated for up to 560 megabits per second, but that's based on a SATA 3 connection. On a SATA 2, it's not going to quite give you 300, but it's going to be pretty close. So, you know, these are all up to ratings, right? These old dog drives, even this one, which is the original out of this iMac, you might get 17 megabits per second out of it, read and write. Maybe even 20 on one, or 24 on one, 17 on the other. It's kind of, they're really slow, and that's 7,200 RPM. It's also very heavy and chews up about 17 volts of power and about 1.2 amps draw, almost 1.3 amps of power it draws. Now, the drive that's in here, that does chew up 1.6 amps of power, but at least the computer has the amount of power required to properly power this drive without it overheating or, you know, thermoing out or whatever, okay? The big thing with drives, period, especially SSDs and NVMe drives, they do chew up a lot of amperage, so they are better used internally if you can, as opposed to externally, because externally you don't get the same kind of, you know, usage out of them, we'll say, or dependability or speeds, right? I've got a drive that is Type-C only. It's external and it's rated for over 1,000 megabits per second. Well, I'm not seeing anywhere near that on a Type-C bus, directly to my Mac or otherwise. And I definitely won't see, you know, that speed either. Regardless, even on my PC laptop that has a Thunderbolt port, which, come to think of it, my ports are all Thunderbolt on my Mac, but it's a Type-C cable, so it only gets access to Type-C speeds, even out of a Thunderbolt. So, but at the same time, you won't see those proper speeds. But why are you lacking in speed? Well, it's because the bus line on a Thunderbolt and Type-C is only 900 milliamps tops. Type A ports, even if it's a 3.1 or 3.2 USB, it's Type A, it's limited to 500 milliamps. So you are starving these drives for the proper amperage to run properly at their fullest potential. So you will not get the speeds that you hoped for. I even have another drive here that's Type C, and I've put into this casing a 3300 megabit per second read by 3000 write speed. I'm not even seeing anywhere near that. I'm lucky to pull 800 megabits per second out of this thing, okay? And it's like, so that's a waste of money. Well, in a Type C setup, yeah, it kind of is. Because, yeah. And of course I can't feed it the amperage. I'm only able to get 900 milliamps dumped into this thing. But if I was to put this in a external Thunderbolt case that's powered, which can supply enough amperage, because this drive unit that's inside here draws almost 3 amps, then if I have the right case, I will easily see 25, 2600 megabits per second all day long on Thunderbolt, okay? But it must be a powered Thunderbolt case. So, and that's an NVMe M.2. There's also standard SSD stick type drives like those too, which are also slower, right? But when it comes to your old Macs and your old PCs that are still usable for the internet, it's definitely worth ripping out those hard drives. Okay, I see even a lot of old Macs for sale, 2013, 2015, 2017, they're still old, right? They're still, people never upgraded their drives. They're still internal HDDs, which really does kind of throw the value back on them for a few reasons. Number one, they're old computers, still very usable though, and definitely for the internet, definitely for video and audio processing applications. And definitely great for gaming. However, with those hard drives, they're very, very slow and pokey to do stuff. Launching applications is slow. Getting to your desktop, oh my gosh. I mean, I couldn't believe this thing. I mean, this thing was taking like almost 3 minutes before I could even fire up a program from a cold start. You know, now I can shut this thing off, which we're going to do for you, and you're going to see exactly how long it takes to fire this thing up from a complete shutdown state. Okay, so now it's off. Start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So about 26 seconds and I can start firing up programs. How do I know that that was actually at that point? If you were watching, these two icons here are movie files. They went from like what looked like a piece of picture film to the pretty icon that I have, right? When you get to that pretty icon, you're up, you're ready to launch. Now, launching a program, for example, like Google Chrome. 3.5 bounces, we're ready to go. Let's go to YouTube. Pretty quick. iMovie. 1, 2, 3, almost 4 bounces. Okay? If you have this particular Mac, or a Mac with an HDD, you'll know how slow they are for doing this. 1, 2, 3. GarageBand's about the same amount of bounces. Ready to go. So, if you want to get some more life and a much faster running experience out of your old Mac or old PC, like I said, you need at least High Sierra right now. Now, this computer, by the way, cannot go past High Sierra. Not legitimately, okay? So, I don't know when it's going to be cut off, but I am running the most current version of Google Chrome, which is the same version as on my M1 Mini, is the same version on my new gamer laptop. Chrome is Chrome all across the board, okay? They all do the same versions, okay? Safari, on the other hand, it's a few versions behind the Mini either way, but it's still secure. And you'll know that when you go up to something like a secure website, like YouTube is very high security, and so if your current browser doesn't allow you on, it'll give you some suggestions. And it may or may not work out for you, but if you're running at least High Sierra, legitimately, okay, for sure, you can definitely run the most up-to-date version of Chrome. You'll run the last, most current secure version of Safari, at least until Apple cuts it off finally. Which, I'm going to tell you right now, I can't tell you that, and Apple can't tell you either when they're going to cut it off completely. But you will know, because you will not be able to surf on any kind of even mid-level security websites. They're not going to allow you on. So you might get on unsecured, but that's about it. So it's going to really limit you. Even once these things come off the internet, your older computers, they're still extremely usable. Now, I also did some video exporting. Now, you guys know I don't sit around and do a lot of color correction stuff or whatever, right? So I'm kind of an in and out kind of guy. My last video that I exported on this, the import time took a little bit to import it to iMovie. Also, I was not able to use my newer intro and outro files. I don't know what the difference is here, because it's just an SSD drive change and I reloaded everything clean again. So, who knows? However, at least I can run them. The export time was over 2 hours. So I ran another file again today, but with the SSD, 1 hour, 7 minutes. That's big difference just in changing the SSD. I mean, I still had 8 gigs of RAM like I did before. I haven't changed anything else about the computer, just the drive, okay? So that's impressive, and that'll still be usable for quite some time, you know, for years, right? GarageBand will still be useful for years in its current state, because these are the last known versions of GarageBand, iMovie, Pages, Keynotes, etc. that would run under High Sierra, okay? And if you have a Mac that can run a newer OS than High Sierra, you'll have some more time with that, and more time with that, and so on as you go up the train, right? So, you know, we do get a lot of excessive usability out of a Mac compared to even PCs at times, right? So it is worth taking something that's of this era of, in this case, the late 2009, okay? Anything older than this, probably not going to happen for you, at least on the internet, but the rest of it would still be okay. And you'll always get to Apple's website and through the App Store very securely, no matter how old your computer is. As long as you have the App Store capable and a browser that can hit Apple Store, you can go on those areas very secure and still reload your computers. This is also why you should be making USB reload sticks too for your old Macs. Comes in handy. So anyway, that's where we sit with that. So I would say yes, it is definitely worth putting an SSD into an older Mac or older PC to give it a new lease on life, and you don't have to take a nap now while things are trying to actually load, you know. With the video editing ability of this machine, it's quite good, especially with the internal drive now being an SSD. In fact, we work with a few different file types as Mac and PC users. We got Blackmagic RAW in this case on the list, ProRes 422HQ, and H.265. Now H.625 is a very common file type for all of us, and a lot of us use it, right? So what we want to know is this drive adequate enough for these right up to 12K? So it's going to check everything with the speed, see how they are, and they're going to give us some check marks and for stuff that's good, X's are bad. And I don't know what the slash marks mean, maybe undecided, I have no idea. So we're looking at 213.2 for the right. Keep in mind too, this computer, by the way, only has 256 megabytes of integrated video that shares system RAM. So 267.8 on the read. So every type of resolution possible up to 8K DCI 60 we're fine for with all the H.265. Our ProRes is good completely right up to 2160 at 60. And of course our Blackmagic RAW, we are perfectly fine to 2160/25. Okay, so that's actually pretty good, and for an old computer running an SSD drive, right, and at these speeds, we're doing pretty good for ourselves. I mean, export times are going to take longer, obviously, because, you know, it depends on what you got for processor as well. Now, there is another version of this same exact year iMac that came with an ATI dedicated graphics card at 256, which would actually help speed things up a little bit better, especially for gaming, but also for video editing, right? As far as GarageBand goes, that's an audio thing. That's pretty much all CPU stuff. A little bit of video in there, but it doesn't require much video power to run GarageBand at all, okay? So, in gaming, well, you're going to be able to run your old games for sure. You know, that's not going to be an issue. I have some newer games that are very current, or close to being current anyways, that'll still run on this Mac under High Sierra, amazingly enough. Yeah, definitely still going to be a usable machine. Whether it's a Mac or a PC, it is definitely worth going to an SSD. I mean, besides, they don't cost that much, right? Now, 500 gig for an old dog like this might be a little bit on the high side for size, but it came with a 500. You want to do all your video editing, honestly, on an internal drive, so that's where you need the space, okay? Same as your audio stuff. If you want no chance of glitch or hiccup, you want to be able to do all your audio and your video stuff on the internal, right? Because external drives aren't going to move very fast for you. You're not even going to get, you know, 50 megabits per second read and write on any external drive. It's going to be very hard to do that. I've been doing quite a bit of extensive testing with some of the externals I have here, and you know, I'm lucky to even see 40, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. Even this drive barely ran very well at all as an external unit for doing the disk speed test. It barely crawled, not much more than an HDD. And it's like, but internally it smokes really good. You know, I mean, it's pretty fast. And you'll find that because it's also a USB 2.0 bus too, right? So they're not very fast on these older computers. Macs and PCs, yes. 2.0 buses are a little on the slower side. So you don't want to do any external video editing on those. But certainly, you can still do quite a bit on these old things, right? So, you know, it is up to you. Retire it, throw it in the garbage, sell it to somebody, whatever, or keep it and still make it usable. For me, I think this would be a handy little machine that if I don't want to tie up my Mac Mini and I want to do something else on my Mini, I can have this thing editing a video, right? That could actually work for me. Yeah, it's going to take, you know, an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on the size of the video and whatnot, to export it while I'm waiting, where it'll only take me a couple of minutes, literally, on the Mini. But it's this thing where if I want to do something project-wise on the Mini and still do my video editing so I can upload videos and so on, I can still do all that on here. And doing even the uploading if I want to. As long as my internet stays secure for me, I'm good to go. So that's benefits, right? So there is a good use even for an older machine, right? But at the same time, I get to play my older Mac games that I can't play on my Mini. Because, as many of you know, M1s and even the M2s do kind of really suck when it comes to games. So, yeah, Apple's got to clean up their act on that one. So, they said, oh, we want to get into gaming. Well, yeah, but gaming on iPads and iPhones, yeah, a lot of people do it. But die-hard Mac fans, I'm sorry, Apple. We want to game on our Macs, not on our frickin' iPads and iPhones, okay? So, if you want gaming, get into all of it, not just the iPads and iPhones, because a lot of us, I mean, I own a gamer PC because I can't play games where the snot on my Mac Mini, you know? So, but anyway, it is what it is. Mind you, the M1s and M2s, fastest bullets on the planet when it comes to video editing and your audio stuff, so, but they do suck for games, that's for sure. But anyway, that's what we got for now for you guys. let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and have you upgraded, and how's your experience been with putting an SSD drive in? Now, SATA 2 bus is fully compatible with SATA 3, but I do not know if SATA 2 or SATA 3 drives are going to be compatible with a SATA 1 bus. That I don't know for sure. Possibly yes, but speeds would probably be pretty slow in comparison to being on SATA 2. So, yeah, it's kind of pig and a poke on that one. But at least this, we know with the late 2009, definitely a SATA 2 bus line, so we're okay to buy any SATA 3 drive we want, throw it in there, and we're going to get basically SATA 2 speeds, not SATA 3 rated speeds. So, because those speed ratings are based upon whether it's a SATA 2 or SATA 3, and it's always an up to rating. It doesn't mean you'll ever get there, and I guarantee you won't see those actual numbers. So, but you can get pretty close depending on your setup. Anyways, that's it. That's all. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.